It's easy to talk and let your dreams live in the realm of fairy tales and let your dreams remain in dreamland and just talk about them. But to actually do something and move toward your goals, to take a step toward your dream is a win, and it's worth celebrating. The power of progress over perfection. Celebrating our progress, finding wins in the progress rather than in perfection. It can be challenging. It can be really hard to stop and celebrate little wins because it marks progress. When you're starting out, it can feel like just failure after failure after failure. And so the gap between reality and your expectation, I think that's the very definition somebody came up with and coined for disappointment. Disappointment is the gap between expectation and reality. I've just been driving from Cape May, New Jersey back to northeastern Tennessee. I am traveling through Roanoke, Virginia, the southwestern corner of Virginia, sitting under a gorgeous tree. I think it's a weeping willow, and picked up an awesome smoothie at one of my stops here. There was a bit of a traffic jam, I think there was an accident on the freeway. So things got kind of slowed down, and I decided to just get off, have a quick stretch of my legs, and get a drink. I've been listening to some podcasts and audiobooks through my trip, and I was just listening to something that really provoked something that I wanted to share, and that was the power of progress over perfection. So many of us, I think, as entrepreneurs, especially ones that have big goals or high achievers, can get stuck on the treadmill and find it hard to make progress sometimes. I think entrepreneurship can be really difficult because when you're starting out, you are the business, and that means 24/7. And so there is constantly something you can be doing better. If you are like me, and not only in business, but doing business with your husband or your partner, you'll find you talk about business at all hours. It's hard to separate life and business. I love that we can bring our kids with us within our business. I love that we can homeschool on the road. I love the fact that it isn't necessarily two different worlds, but it's also one of the great challenges. Celebrating our progress, finding wins in the progress rather than in perfection. It can be challenging. It can be really hard to stop and celebrate little wins because it marks progress. When you're starting out, it can feel like just failure after failure after failure. And so the gap between reality and your expectation, I think that's the very definition somebody came up with and coined for disappointment. Disappointment is the gap between expectation and reality. And so there's a tension we manage as entrepreneurs of holding that expectation and our hope and our vision and goals with the reality of our progress. And we can't hold that tension as disappointment. We have to flip it around and look at what there is to celebrate. Look at our progress, look at our wins, and find ways to celebrate the accomplishment that we've had. Grinding, the grind. There's just these deep words that a lot of entrepreneurs know of working hard, and it can be really difficult to move from becoming somebody who is grinding away at their business and become somebody who is alive doing the business. There's a big difference between grinding away and beginning to enjoy and celebrate the building of your business, the accomplishment. I think it's learning to be kind to yourself, and it's something I have been practicing more in recent years. Encourage my husband to do with me, and as a family, really learning to celebrate our wins, celebrating the little wins. And it doesn't always have to be something big. It can be a special dinner, special drinks, doing something special together in honor of where we've come. It can be cheering each other on and verbalizing it. And I'm doing that with a coaching client who has made big wins and trying to acknowledge and help her celebrate that win. One of the ways I've been doing it in our coaching sessions is really repeating the win and the value of what she has done to mark that. So anyway, I don't know where you're at in life, how you're moving towards your goals. You may or may not be an entrepreneur, but if you have a dream and you want to see that dream become reality, you are gonna have to make a decision of how to make progress toward that dream. To be honest, most people, it's easy to talk and let your dreams live in the realm of fairy tales and let your dreams remain in dreamland and just talk about them. But to actually do something and move toward your goals, to take a step toward your dream is a win. And it's worth celebrating. I have to remind myself of that on a regular basis. To take a second step, to take 5 steps, to take 10 steps, to pick yourself up when you have fallen down, that's a win. When you don't let what others say or maybe how you've been slandered knock you down, that's a win. Progress is winning, and we have to celebrate that. We have to be kind. When you focus on being grateful and celebrating how far you've come and these wins, it's so much easier to move yourself in a direction when there's pleasure and joy around what you're celebrating and what you're doing. Because if you have this standard of perfection for yourself and all you're looking at is the disappointment between your expectation and your dream and your goal versus the reality, and kicking yourself or beating yourself up because you didn't try harder, you didn't do more, you didn't take a bigger risk, or whatever it is, the fact is we as humans are motivated by pain and pleasure. If something is painful, we're not going to move in that direction. It doesn't even have to be other people beating us up about stuff. When we beat ourselves up for our failures, when we beat ourselves up for, knock ourselves around for all the disappointments and how we disappoint ourselves, well, we're not going to want to move in the direction of our dreams. It's only by taking steps and celebrating those wins, building gratitude, and living from a place of gratitude that we're going to be able to fuel ourselves on that journey toward our dreams. So I hope this gives the spark and adds some fuel to your dreams today, and I'll see you on the next video.